You know him as Craig Mish on Newswire and on SportsGrid, and I know him as Scoop Mish. He's on a whole nother level with us over here on Coast to Coast, setting the standard of baseball reporting around the universe and covering the Marlins as well. Before I talk about this terrible NLCS, who are you hearing the Marlins want to hire as their manager?
I think they may end up hiring somebody who has been in the playoffs. There's a number of names that are out there. I'm not really sure, how deep it's going to go yet, but there's two names in particular that I think that they have interest in. One is the bench coach on Cleveland. His name is Craig Abernaz. I think that there's a possibility there. The other is a coach that's on the Philadelphia Phillies, just got eliminated, named Dusty Wathan. You may be familiar with him. He's been with them a long time too. I think they're going to interview probably 5-6 people. I don't see this being like they interviewed like 20, 30 people with Skip Schumacher. I don't think it's going to be that deep. I think they have an idea in terms of relationships as to who they want, Scott. So I would imagine immediately after the World Series is over, you'll start to hear things are getting hot. But I do think it could end up being somebody who's currently in the postseason right now. And let's be honest, you never know how things can go. Yankees get knocked out in 4. Maybe the Yankees are looking for a new manager. Dodgers get knocked out in 5. Maybe the Dodgers are looking for a new manager. You never know.
Well, Schumacher, I heard, was going to be a hot commodity after he left Miami. Are you buying that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think he's going to manage again, but it has to be in the right situation. You hear stuff, Scott, and not a lot of it is true. I mean, that's just the reality. There's only 30 of these gigs, and it has to be the right scenario, the right team, the right GM. And let's be honest, it has to be the right owner too, because no matter what happens in baseball, and Scott, I think this is probably the biggest fallacy of all. People think that it's the general manager that hires the manager. It is not. The general manager says, this is who I want to hire, and then they go to the owner, and then the owner makes that decision, which is what happened in Cincinnati, right? Like, I mean, how do you think that Terry Francona all of a sudden, Scott, comes out of nowhere and he's the manager? Did you even hear about any other interviews?
No.
Do you remember when the White Sox hired Tony La Russa a few years ago? Did you even hear about any other interviews? The owners are hiring the manager in the end. Now, the general manager and the presidents, they make the recommendations, but that's how it goes down. So is Skip going to manage again in the big leagues? Absolutely. Can I guarantee it's going to be this year? No, I have no idea.
Were you surprised the Pirates kept Cherington and Shelton? Because some people got really mad that Tito got that job in Cincinnati and that they just stayed with who they had, and they've been so miserable. Listen, besides Paul Skeens, they're awful.
Well, Brian Reynolds is a good player.
Whatever.
I mean, O'Neal Cruz is a good player, and Jared Jones is a good player. I think, Scott, the deal is that they feel like they're on the cusp of being competitive, and I think they felt like they showed enough last year to give them another shot. But if the Pirates were to finish, let's say, below 500 again next season, I think Shelton would be looking for another job. I don't know what Ben Cherington's relationship is with Bob Nutting. And again, that's how owners and GMs get hired and fired. And I would imagine that he's under some restrictions in terms of what he can do financially. And so I think that has to factor into the equation. But first comes the manager, then comes the president and the general manager. So Shelton would be one of those managers going into next season that you would say has to win more than he loses, or else he'll probably be looking for another job.
So what do you think, Scoop, of this NLCS? 9-0 last night. Flaherty was dealing. The Mets couldn't get on base, couldn't get hits. And then today, Viento's grand slam breakfast, and they're up 6-0. Both games, 9-0, 6-0. You can't even make this up.
It's going to be a long series. I mean, look, that's just the nature of what the Dodgers are at this point. They're uber talented on offense. They have no pitching at this point, 1 or 2 guys that can get them 5 or 6 innings. And so, Scott, when you play against an elite team like the Mets, and they may beat the Mets and get to the World Series, but for the Dodgers, because of this deficiency in their rotation, no matter how you look at it, and I understand they had 33 scoreless innings going into it, eventually they're going to get bombed. And that's what happened today. And by the way, it's probably going to happen again in this series. So it's hard for the Dodgers to just roll without having starting pitching like Kershaw, like Buehler. I mean, these things don't exist anymore. And so it is Flaherty, and then a bullpen, and then Yamamoto, and then a bullpen. And that's just not sustainable to win a series quickly. Now, can they win the whole thing? Absolutely. I mean, on offense, who's more talented than they are? So this is not all that surprising to me. I think the Mets are very much in this. I think they'll be in it throughout, and it probably goes 6 or 7 games.
Before I ask you about the Mets, Kershaw said today he's coming back next year.
Right.
I almost fell over. Like, he's shot.
Yeah, look, the thing is with a guy like Kershaw, Scott, is that like Roger Clemens used to do in the past, you may remember, he'd sit out like April, May, and then try to come back June, July, August. We see that now with Verlander, who sits out time, Scherzer, who sits out time. The same thing will happen with Kershaw. So, Scott, what'll happen is he'll go to spring training, he'll pitch on the backfields, make some minor league starts. You'll see him in like May or June, and then they'll just preserve him for the postseason. So when he says he's coming back next season, I think it's legit. When, if the FanDuel Sportsbook posted a 14.5 starts on the season for Clayton Kershaw, of course, I'd bet the under. But I'd bet the over on like 10.5 from August, September, and in October, because that's all they really want him for.
So, Manaea has blown my mind because you said to me in the break, he's never been good. He's always been a mess. But boy, has he been hot for the last couple of months.
I saw him pitch in person earlier this year. Like, he wasn't good at all. And he's been on several teams in several years. He's never been able to put it together. In fact, Scott, I'm going to have to jog my memory here. Back in March, Manaea pitched in a spring training game. I think it was against the Marlins. I don't think it was a regular season game. He pitched a spring training game. He got absolutely crushed, and he cut all his hair off. He had this huge haircut, and from a spring training game. And I remember sitting there with my son. My son's like, oh, this guy's not going to have a good year. And here we are. It's so funny what happens in the postseason. Heroes are made. You never know what's going to happen. And he is hot and pitching great at the right time. And that's all that matters. Now, the question is, can he cash in on some of this? And my guess is some team will probably take a shot on him. It reminds me a lot of Jordan Montgomery last year. Now, Montgomery was a better pitcher over the course of his career than Manaea was. But look at what Montgomery got paid off, essentially 2-3 good months in Texas last year. And he didn't have one good start, I don't think, all year this year.
I don't think Montgomery will pitch for them again after the things that owner said about him. I really don't. Let me ask you about the ALCS starting tonight. I'm scared to death with Rodon going. He's the one guy that, I got to be honest with you, I don't trust.
Cleveland's got a great shot to win the series. I would pick them. I think Cleveland is the better team. I think. I'm just being honest. I got to keep it real. Look, the only way the Yankees win this series is if the Judge and Soto have got to get hot together and get hot at the right time. I know that they beat Kansas City. The games are all really close. Cleveland is super opportunistic. You do not beat Cleveland if you're down after 6 innings. And the Yankees are going to be down in several of these games, 2-1 and 3-1 after 6 innings. I don't know what's going on. I mean, why do players have 60 home run seasons and then not hit in the postseason? I mean, it's hard to, understand this. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 during the regular season. But I will take Cleveland in this series. I do think Cleveland is advancing. I know no one wants to hear it, but I think they're advancing to the World Series. So
how about the people saying Clase is better than Mariano Rivera? That's just not possible.
Stop.
It's just not possible. I couldn't believe Carpenter hit the home run off of him. I really couldn't believe it.
He's been hittable a little bit in the postseason, but they're also using him like they never have before for 2 innings, which is what everybody used to do when we were growing up.
Listen, and I said this earlier on the show today, I watched the Bob Prince interviews from the 1960 Pirates win over the Yankees in the World Series yesterday. It was fantastic stuff, and it was in color 64 years ago. It was good stuff. Scoop, always a pleasure. Love having you on. Enjoy the rest of the championship series.